Alright, so today we are doing solving rational equations with adding and subtracting. And so the good thing is, this is almost the exact same as solving one-step equations with adding and subtracting. If you were to pull out your notes from solving one step, you'll notice that it looks almost identical. Because really it's the same thing, except for instead of having integers, now we're going to have rational numbers, which is fractions and decimals. So a lot of our steps are going to be the same. For example, the first step is, of course, you're going to draw your railroad tracks on either side of the equal sign. Remember, this is just to help you separate the two sides. It helps you know this goes on the one side, this goes on the other side. And then you're going to circle the variable and anything attached to it. Don't forget the negative. Super important that you don't forget the negative. So here, in this case, these are going to be one-step equations mostly, so you'll just have your variable. And then, remember, to get the variable by itself, we're going to use the inverse operations, and that just means the opposite. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So here, you have plus 2/3, so you're going to just do minus 2/3. Minus 2/3. And then those two will cancel and give you a 0. And you're left with x equals, let's turn that into a z for 0. X equals 1/2 minus 2/3. So now step number 4 is to solve for the variable. And one thing that's a little bit different is we need to, let me write this in red, leave the fraction improper. Don't turn it into a mixed number, don't turn it into a decimal, just leave it improper. It'll save you time, it'll save you a headache, just trust me on this one, leave it improper. Okay, so now we have 1/2, so you're going to hit your fraction button, type in 1, arrow down, type in 2, arrow over. Okay, 1/2 minus 2/3, fraction, 2, arrow down, 3, arrow over. And it gives me negative 1/6. And then, of course, the last step is to check your solution. And remember, the way we check, I'll write it over here, check solution, is just to go back in and plug this in for x. So it would be negative 1/6 in for x plus 2/3. Let's see what that is. Negative 1/6 plus 2/3. And that equals 1/2. And what was it supposed to equal? 1/2. And so, yep, that works. We did it correctly. You don't need to check your solutions on every one, but on your test, I would do that. Now, let's do these 3 together, and then you have 3 on your own. Okay? On this one, railroad tracks, circle your variable. Let's just do that on all of them. Just get that out of the way. It really makes life so much easier. Okay? Now, let's go through and do the opposite operation. This is plus 12.8. So the opposite of adding is subtracting. Also, if you notice, I always line them up. I've noticed that some people don't line them up. Make sure you focus on lining them up, because then when you cancel it and turn that into a 0, it's easy because they're right above each other. Your variable comes straight down, and then you have negative 0.3, okay, plus a negative 12.8 equals negative 13.1. number 2. Here we have a positive 4 2/5, so we are going to subtract or add a negative 4 2/5 to both sides. And see how I put this directly underneath it? The problem I've seen is a lot of people will put this over here. So then when they cross it out, it's making it go diagonally, which is great if you're multiplying or dividing. But adding and subtracting, just do it right above, because then it becomes a 0, and you're left with just your variable. Then you have negative, mixed number is the second fraction button, second fraction. And you have 3 1/2 plus a negative mixed number, second fraction, 4 2/5, which gives me a negative 79/10. And that's what I meant about leaving it as a mixed. That's what I meant. Sorry. Some students are being loud. That's what I meant by leaving it as a improper fraction. Don't change this to a mixed number or anything. Just leave it like that. That's fine. Next, you have minus 19/6. So you need to add 19/6. Add 19/6. Those will give you a 0 and leave you with P equals, you're going to have second mixed number. Oh, I did it wrong. Second. That's negative 2 1/2 plus fraction 19/6. Enter, and it's positive 2/3. And like I said, you can check it just by plugging this in for P. So I could plug in 2/3 for P and then say minus 19/6. And it gives me negative 5/2 or negative 2.5. So that works. So really, you don't even have to write down your checking solutions. You can simply do it in your calculator. Okay, now you have 3 more practice problems. Hopefully this page wasn't too hard, because really you've done it before with one-step equations. Now you're just doing it with fractions and decimals, which is good because then you can't do it in your head as much. So you actually have to do the process. Good luck.